at the time of this video's release, we are a mere 5 days away from the resource coupon resetting in the armory. If you guys don't know, there's a coupon that is available for a whopping 25% off of any resource ship in the game that's available to buy in the armory. So coal ships and steel ships, you can get a quarter of the price cut off the top with this coupon. However, it resets twice a year, once in the summer and then again in the winter. And on June 1st, that coupon is resetting. So if you have been waiting to acquire a coal or a steel ship, now is the time to do so, or at least start preparing to do so. You'll start grinding a little bit more coal, checking out those missions in the Wisconsin dockyard. Maybe you want to buy your way through some of them and then grind your way through them to get the steel for those stages if you really want a steel ship and you're pretty close to it. But anyway, what resource ship should you get? Well, that's a very hard question to answer, so I've whittled it down to 5 of my best resource ships for this video so that you can start getting ready to pick them up when the coupon resets on the 1st of June. Again, this is a very hard list to put together because there are so many good resource ships. If you're interested about one that doesn't appear up on this list, there's a very good chance that I have already made a video or two talking about it and how it's doing in the year of our Lord 2024, so you can check out the channel for that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? If you do find yourself enjoying this video, find it helpful, informational, or entertaining, please make sure to drop a like, leave a comment. It helps on the YouTube side of things, as always. Let's go ahead and get going with number 5, which is the Tier 10 Soviet cruiser, the Stalingrad. Now, the Stalingrad is a ship that she surely has changed a lot over the years. When the Stalingrad came out originally, she was probably the most busted thing in the game. She was one of the first large cruisers, if you will. We used to call them battle cruisers, but now there's actual battle cruisers in the game, so yeah. But anyway, she was the first, with herself and the Kronstadt, of these large cruisers, you know, like the Aguirre, Zuma, so forth and so on that we have in the game today. And of course, since she's Soviet, she gets all the Soviet goodies, right? The good shell ballistics, where the shells maintain their penetration over range so much better than similar shell types, right? Because the Soviet shells just break the laws of physics and have pretty much no air drag. So yeah, her guns hit really hard at range, and you'll be citadeling battleships at almost your maximum range if you have good enough aim, which the Stalingrad's guns are pretty darn accurate. Every now and then they do get a little wonky salvo, but you know, what ship in the game does it? But anyway, on top of that, she gets 12 kilometers Soviet radar, a ton of HP, and good armor. Now, what's happened to her throughout the years is that she's been power crept by the fact that, well, she's not one of 2 large cruisers anymore. Like, we have so many of these cruisers now, right? And there's been a whole hell of a lot of global changes since she was released. The hardest one hitting her would probably be the Commander rework that removed the abilities for these large cruisers to build into their survivability. And then they also got slapped with the battleship burn time. See, back in the day, Stalingrad got the normal cruiser burn time. So if you built into it, fires were pretty much a non-factor because you're a cruiser with a battleship HP pool and tough armor. So if players would try to melt you down, it would take them pretty much forever to do it, thanks to your HP pool. But anyway, that has, of course, changed, and she's a lot more killable today from HE than she used to be. She still, of course, is incredibly tanky when it comes to AP. Her guns still hit hard as hell, and she's still a very, very solid ship that will do very well in random battles, and still from time to time does pop up in competitive modes like clan battles and such. So she'll do great in either of those modes. Just watch her sides, because like all Soviet large ships, her sides are made out of tissue paper, and you can and will be sent back to port if you goof up and show too much of it to the enemy team. She is a still ship, so again, if you've been waiting for a still ship to pick up, Stalingrad, can't really go wrong with her, especially if you already have a built-up Soviet commander for her. Alright, moving on down to number 4, we have the Tier 9 Premium German battleship, the Pommern. The Pommern is a ship that last time I mentioned her in one of these list videos, a fair amount of you guys were saying, well, she doesn't really do well today in random battles and such. And yeah, sure, like most other brawling battleships, randoms isn't the kindest mode to her. But, man, when Tier 9 ranked comes around, or any other different mode at Tier 9 that's in a smaller format, she does fantastic in it, like with the last round of asymmetrics. This thing still prints money, even after all of the buffs they did to the income for battleships for asymmetrics. Pommern is so good at murdering bots and asymmetrics that she was still printing money for me. Again, rank battles, a lot of a more smaller format mode there, and you have to be able to carry yourself through ranked. And if it's tier 9 ranked, you're going to see a ton of Pommers there because they are great at this. Or again, any other smaller format mode, she's awesome for that. And she can still work in randoms, just like any of the brawling battleships. Yes, 2024 is not exactly the year of the brawling battleship, but there still are moments where they do well, especially if you yourself are good at getting them to work. And Pommern is one of the better ones because she's more hyper-specialized for brawling, so she can still get it in 2024. So the Pommern is basically an FGG that you remove the 8 16-inch guns and replace them with 12 15-inch guns, bolt some torpedoes to the deck, and then, well, she has the secondaries and the hydroacoustic search that you find on lots of other German battleships. So she is very well geared toward brawling. And the 15-inch guns, yes, they're smaller than the 16-inch guns, and they're downright small by tier 9 standards, but when you have 12 of them, I mean, like, stuff's going to hit, right? And it's going to connect, and it's still the German AP. And when it does connect, it does hit hard. And she's just great if you can get to within her secondary range, which is 12 kilometers with the build on it. So pretty good range for a tier 9 battleship. And especially if you have Lucians, Pommern is fantastic for him. You get those 100 secondary hits, you get the reload boost going to your secondary guns, and then damage really starts to roll in. So again, for a ship that is a free ship that you can get with coal, it's worth picking her up just for ranked, or again, if asymmetric comes back, or pinata hunt, or airship escort. She's great in all of those closer ranged, smaller format modes. And I know I've said it like 3 or 4 times in this video, but she is really great for that. And I think getting her just for those modes, just to get through ranked and get your still for that, I think she's well worth it. Again, she's a free ship, she's a coal ship. And if you're looking to pick up a coal ship and haven't picked up the Pommern yet, especially if you like German battleships or brawling, I cannot recommend her enough. Alright, we go on down now to number 3, which is the one, the only, the tier 10 French battleship, the Bourgogne. And now I know there's a bunch of angry French guys in the comments saying, why isn't Bourgogne number 1? Because I don't want it to be, because I'm tired of people getting mad when I don't mention in every video that the Bourgogne is the best battleship in the game. But she is a really good battleship, like no ifs, ands, or buts about that. She is a turbocharged all-sauce. She has, well, she is an all-sauce that's up tier to tier 9 with improved dispersion, improved accuracy, improved reload time on her guns, a different secondary suite that's more geared towards AA rather than being actual secondary guns. Then you slap a reload booster on her and, well, you got a Bourgogne at that moment. So the thing that makes her so good is that the guns are so much more accurate than the all-sauces. If you play the all-sauce, their 12 15-inch guns are kind of all over the place, and at tier 9 that kind of works because, you know, you'll be finding yourself in some tier 7 games from time to time. But at tier 10, if you want 15-inch guns to work, they gotta be either very accurate or be sap, like the Colombo. The Bourgogne, though, went for the accuracy, right? And these 15-inch guns are very accurate. A lot of times, most times, the shells do actually go where you aim, which, as a battleship player, that's kind of crazy, right? We're so used to our shells just flying all over the place instead of hitting the target that we're aiming at. But the Bourgogne, the shells will hit the target, which means that if you know where they're going to hit, you can, you know, make the most of these guns. And the French AP is still quite good, to where these 15-inch guns really hit like 16-inch guns with how fast they're going and how good their penetrations are. And since the guns aren't accurate, using HE is a lot more viable choice here in the Bourgogne than in other battleships, because 12 15-inch shells of HE, they're going to start fires. Like, just mathematically, they're going to start fires. So if someone's going bow into you, sling them some HE in their face, and you'll be burning them down before too long. And that also means she's great for dealing with destroyers, especially with her reload booster, to where you can get those quick follow-up shots on those destroyers that goof up and get spotted by you or your team. You can get 1 or 2 salvos into them with the reload booster before they disappear, which is great. And again, it's 12 15-inch shells to a destroyer. Like, yes, they get the the destroyer versus battleship damage ratio, but like when it's 12 guns in about, again, depending upon how good your adrenaline rush is going and what build you go with, like 12-ish seconds, that's a lot of pain for a destroyer to have to deal with. And of course, too, dealing with cruisers, a lot easier in the Bourgogne than in a lot of other battleships. Now, of course, the trade-off is that she is a Tier 9 battleship at Tier 10, so she's got that lower HP pool in comparison to other Tier 10 battleships. So that is something you have to overcome, and she does have the French armor scheme, which means she's incredibly vulnerable to HE spam because she's just coated in the 32 millimeters of armor everywhere, and all these higher tier cruisers are doing everything they can do to get their shells to pin 32, so they can probably pin them, which means they can farm you down just fine. But a very fast, maneuverable battleship with that engine boost, accurate, quick reloading guns, especially with the reload booster. What's not to love here? Apparently, a lot of people do love her because, again, every time I don't mention that she's the best thing in the game, I get a bunch of angry comments. But anyway, moving on down to number 2, we have the Tier 10 Italian cruiser, the Napoli, another coal ship. We've had 2 still ships and 2 coal ships so far on this list. The Napoli, yes, another coal ship and another secondary ship. You might be thinking, Sealord, is your secondary bias showing here? No, the Napoli is just that good. I mean, like, man, there hasn't been a clan battle season since Napoli was released that she wasn't involved in, if the season was set at Tier 10, right? This is a ship that gets spammed in ranked, spammed in clan battles, spammed in pretty much any mode because she is that good. You get the SAP secondaries, you get the hard-hitting Italian guns, you get the exhaust smoke generator where you can go full tilt and still be covered by your smoke screen. And you get just an incredibly tanky ship as well. I don't understand how the Napoli really hasn't been nerfed yet and how she in fact has only been buffed. Like, this ship is stupidly tanky for a cruiser. You can find clips of her, and even on this channel too, where she just bounces 18-inch guns, 20-inch guns off of her belt armor because she's so maneuverable, and her belt armor is thick enough to where you can dance around and just bounce those shells off of your belt armor. She's such a ridiculously tough ship. And then you add into the fact that she has these SAP secondaries, which are absolutely terrifying to be on the receiving end of, even if you're something like a battleship, right? They're going to chew through your superstructure, chew through the extremities of your ship, and you're just going to have an absolutely terrible time. And she sells the torpedoes on top of that as well. So she's a ship that if you love close quarters combat, you love brawling, absolutely pick her up. If you want to do competitive, you want to get in a clan, you want to do ranked, again, she has not been irrelevant since in a clan battle since her release, right? Like, if you have a Napoli, that's a pretty easy end to get into a clan. And again, with rank 2, like we were talking about the Pommern, you need a ship that you can carry in, and the Napoli is absolutely well suited for that, especially with the exhaust smoke. The ability to go undetected and just still have your secondaries shooting out of your smoke and murdering things is great. And she even has a spotter for that too. Well, she has a catapult plane for that, where you can launch that bad boy and he'll spot the targets while your secondaries farm them down. You can even, as heretical as I believe it is, go with a main battery build on the Napoli, and because the guns are, again, the Italian guns with the high velocity AP, they do very much work for that as well. I mean, again, me personally, I would build with the secondaries because that's what the ship is mostly all about, right? But there are many that swear up and down by a main battery build on the Napoli. And if you have Sansonetti, again, great ship to throw him on as well. And again, she's a coal ship, free ship, and if you're wanting a brawling ship, but maybe you don't want the Pommern and you want something that can be used in more competitive modes, look no further than the Napoli. And that brings us on down to our number 1 slot, which is occupied by the Tier 10 Japanese battleship, the Shikishima. I don't need to explain anything beyond that, I do believe. But if I do, what the Shikishima is a Yami with 20-inch guns. I believe she was one of the super Yami designs that the Japanese Navy were messing around with either shortly before or during World War II. So 20-inch guns. So like, yeah, that's big. Now, truth be told, there is no real huge advantage to the 6 20-inch guns with the Shikishima versus the 9 18.1-inch guns versus the Yami, because the 9 18-inch guns of the Yami, they overmatch 32 millimeters of armor, which is the last major threshold of armor in the game. The 20-inch guns of the Shikishima don't overmatch really anything important that the Yami don't, and the Yami has 9 guns versus the 6 guns of the Shikishima. And yes, the 6 guns of the Shikishima are more accurate, but again, the way this game works, a lot of times it's better to just throw more shells at the targets than less, so yeah. But anyway, big gun noise, right? That's what most of you are here for, right? And yeah, the Shikishima does have the wonderful 20-inch gun sound effect. And she also has a different secondary suite from the Yami. She actually has Harugamo guns up and down the sides of her superstructure, which can pin 30 millimeters of armor. Now, back in the day, you used to be able to build into these, and they were quite good. So you had a secondary high-tier Japanese battleship here with the Shikishima. But then we lost that ability because they nerfed the accuracy of it with the secondary rework, or with the commander rework, and, well, she hasn't been treated since. But big gun sound effect is still big gun sound effect, and it's always fun to hear this thing from across the map with that 20-inch gun sound effect. That was actually originally a bug, but they added it back in because it sounded so epic. So, yeah, I love it. It's a big dumb ship. It is a still ship, right? So would this be the first still ship I would go for? If you're looking for like a fun random battleship, sure. Yeah, I mean, like 20-inch guns, you get 1 shell to Citadel, and like tier 10 cruisers lose half of their HP. That's pretty funny. And then if 2 or 3 actually hit in Citadel, then they're probably just dead at that moment. The shells are exceptionally accurate. The guns are very accurate. So if you have good aim, you can put in work with the Shikishima, that is for sure. Is she going to be a great random competitive battleship like with clan battles or anything like that? Probably not, because you just use Yami instead, because again, the 20-inch guns don't overmatch anything that the 18.1-inch guns can already overmatch. That's important, right? So you'd probably just use a Yami instead. But it's a fun ship, and one I would recommend you pick up eventually one way or another. And again, with the coupon coming off of cooldown here in a few days, if you want a fun random battleship, that is for sure one I would go with. So guys, those are my top 5 resource ships. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. What ships are you planning on picking up with the coupon coming off a cooldown here in a few days? Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.